it over to our first interview of the day. It's always a pleasure when I get to have this gentleman on. He's one of the most, probably bright men in terms of the mixed martial arts scene in the state of California, and always a pleasure to get to have this man on my program, Mr. Tom Anderson over there out of the lovely 916. How you doing today, my man?
I'm good. I'm good. You said I was bright. I appreciate that.
It's always a great pleasure to have you on, my man. How's everything been going over there for you? I know that you have been very busy kind of getting this next card ready and getting just everything kind of going for this one. How's everything been going in the route to this one? And just, go ahead and give the fans a breakdown, man, because I think that they're going to be pretty excited when they hear some of the names that you're adding on.
Yeah, well, I mean, the main event, Kevin Felipe and Nick Maximov, that's huge. They're fighting 195 pounds. My super middleweight title that I created because I thought we have a lot of guys that can fight in that. So, anyways, it's Kevin's holding the title, and he's taking on Nick Maximov, who's what 9-2. His only two losses were in the UFC. He was like 3-2 in the UFC. He's coming off a win. He was fighting over at Fury, so we got him for this. He's originally from Chico, so he's got a ton of fans coming. Kevin's got a ton of fans coming. This is gonna be great, man. It's gonna be awesome main event. We got Hector Fajardo and Cesar Hernandez as the feature bout. Hector always puts on a great show, always great striking. So it's a good card. I just lost Ben Reese. Ben Reese just pulled like 10 minutes ago with an injury. So now I'm on the hunt for a replacement to fight Carlos Figueroa.
Got a little bit of some breaking news developing over there in the A1 combat scene, man. That's a crazy drop. I mean, especially too, again, to speak to Carlos Figueroa a little bit in the lead up to this one. He seems very motivated. I'm pretty sure he's sharing that with you in the lead up to this one. He just seems like a guy that's ready to burst almost, in terms of the mixed martial arts scene.
Well, he's had two big wins, two first round. I mean, I think one was like a 25-second KO. The other one was like in 35. So he has two big, splashy wins in our cage, and he's ready to get back in there. And that Ben Reese fight had pulled in the past, I want to say about 4 months ago, and it's kind of been floating around. And then Ben came back from England, and he was here, so we were ready. Everybody's training, and then he had some training injury today. I got the call from his manager. And I let Carlos know, and he's not too happy, but as any fighter is, when you lose your opponent. So I'm on the hunt. There's a bunch of guys out there. I'm just kind of looking around, see what makes sense, what would be an exciting fight.
What would you say is speaking in terms of matchmaking and just trying to build a card, what would you say has been the most challenging development? And you have only been a promoter here in this mixed martial arts game for a couple of years now. How has it been now kind of getting your feet wet, and not only that, but you're seeing a lot of success in terms of the mixed martial arts world?
Yeah, I produced I promoted my first kickboxing show back in '96, right? So I've been around for a while, and I've been a promoter for a long time, doing 600 concerts and all that shit. But but MMA, and then once I got into matchmaking, man, it's been a challenge. I've been holding my own. I put on some really great fights, just doing a lot of homework, watching a lot of tape. It is very challenging on the regional level because it is the regional level. It's not the UFC. I'm not calling shots. I have a very limited sphere of influence. And you're competing with a lot of other shows. You're competing with everybody. Scott Coker's got a regional show now, and LFA comes rolling through town. Lights Out and Up Next and Cage Warriors and all these, and then and that's just in California. So it's always a scramble. You have to really lean on your relationships with the coaches and with the managers, and what's good about our show is like I'm sitting there watching the fights, and I know exactly based on the outcome of what's happening in front of me. Oh, this guy should fight this guy. Oh, this guy should, depending upon what happens, right? It's easy to do, like for us, but then when you're putting say a 10 bout card together, it gets challenging because you're having to throw some money at it sometimes, and you'll put a card together and then you'll lose guys, just like what happened today. I mean, it's not going to change. So, yeah, fun matchmaking, 24/7, baby. It never stops, man. Christmas morning, people are calling me to make fights. My birthday, it doesn't care. It is a hungry beast, man. So I managed to put some good relationships together. And the more relationships I have, the easier it's getting, right? Like just like anything else. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm looking for Carlos Figueroa's next opponent.
I think one big fight that, besides from that, I mean, spectacular main event and that co-main event that you were able to put together between Kevin Felipe and then Hector Fajardo over there. But another big fight, I think possibly a lot of fans are looking at, is that Bakting Chukwueze fight after that guillotine finish over Star Charles, and then Oseamon Olahalan. The training partner over there for Anthony Hernandez for his last fight had a great. I was just speaking about it. Had a great dominant performance against Michelle Pereira. So it's I'm now looking at this fight. I'm having red exclamation points circling. I'm doing all I can.
Yeah, that's gonna be a badass. Bogdan's something else, man. Like I've watched that highlight finish a few times with Star Charles, and it was just like, it was great. It was great. He's a handful, that kid, man. And also, yeah, he's a handful too. So yeah, that's gonna be a banger. I think Benny Orozco and Tyson, that's another good one. Like Benny's good, man. I mean, he's got a gas tank on him. So I'm very curious to see. And people have been raving about Tyson, and so yeah, I think that's gonna be a good fight too.
And he was one of those guys that came up on the A1 amateur scene, I believe, as well, right? Tyson Kuhlheim.
Yeah, and the fact that he was willing his pro debut to take on Benny, I was like, dang, good on you, man. Good on your team. Like, let's do this, man. Like it's I get, and that's part of matchmaking is just watching some of the gamesmanship, some of the managers, some of the coaches play, right? And then it dawned on me the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, well, the coaches have a business to run, right? So if you bring up a crew of fighters and you go out and you take all tough fights and they all lose, that's not good for business. It's just not. So that kind of opened my eyes to some of the bullshit I put up with this guy doesn't want, this guy wants to fight the ring card girl because he needs a win. It's like, dude, that's not happening on our show. But as I get deeper and deeper and deeper into matchmaking, I'm, these epiphanies happen. And now I understand, oh yeah, this coach doesn't want to take this fight because if he comes back, that's not good for membership. That's not good to bring people into the gym, right? Which I understand it. I'm a small businessman too, right? So it's just weird. Like you really start to see how this MMA business works. Like I know the promoter side, I know the financial side, which a lot of people don't get, It's like, all the things that I'm responsible for. And then all the things that the manager's responsible for and what his motivations are, what the coach is responsible for and what they're, so everybody has different motivations and stuff. So it is interesting. That never even dawned on me before,
It's something that's a bright point for you to bring up because I think that's something that even fight fans don't think about, in terms of matchmaking when they're watching cards. They may think like, oh, why doesn't this guy get matched up with this guy? But like how you're stating, there's a whole different, you can say it's politics, but it's a whole different realm of kind of things that go into everything. And I feel like unless you're in somebody like your shoes, you're not really seeing every single realm. So it's very interesting to kind of see your perspective on everything.
Yeah, losses are bad for business, bro. Losses are bad for I get that. But if you're confident in your fighter and your fighter's a badass, you don't care. You're like, yeah, I'll fight that dude. No problem. We'll smoke him. Because this guy's good. My kid's good. I trained him right. He's a killer. And we're not, so when Tyson took that fight with Benny, I was like, damn, dude, right on, man. Like that, not a lot of people I think would have taken that fight.
I agree with you. I think that's a very tough fight, especially to take in your debut, like how you're saying, for going into the professional scene. And I mean, once you go pro, you know, they say you can never go back, as they say. And even looking now at your amateur card, because like how we were speaking, like we've spoken the last couple of times, Aaron Rand has done an absolute bang up job of just making sure that these like amateurs going into the pros are just prepared to their fullest, because this amateur card looks absolutely amazing as well. You got Ian Russell taking on Ryan Ferdinand for that light heavyweight championship.
That's a great fight, man.
And then you got Eddie McCleary, Joshua Roleg, and I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up Ethan Richardson after earning that finish last time against a judo black belt. Like, I mean, this undercard is almost just as stacked as the main card. I would say.
Aaron is as immersed in MMA as I think anybody I've ever met, man. He's training, he's matchmaking, he's constantly continues to educate himself. I teach him what I can about the financial side, like for the pro side, and how the mechanics and what we need to make a show work, and what the expectations are and everything else. So yeah, no, he's really good, man. Like I could see him being, like a standout matchmaker as in the pro business, as he moves along in his career, for sure. Because he loves the sport. I mean, he trains. I can't say enough. He's super organized too. I can't say enough good things about Aaron. He's awesome. I'm so happy he's part of our team.
And he's part of one of the reasons why we got a matchup on that pro card as well. I mean, he was able to bring Christopher Fernandez into the kind of stratosphere against another kind of stand him and bang him guy in Pedro Juarez. That's got to be another one you're super excited about, right?
Yeah, man. So Pedro's fighting he's doing a boxing debut Friday night down in Modesto. He's got a great stand-up. But then also I was talking to his coach. It's like, how's this going to impact his performance on our show? And then his coach gave me a lot of insight as to how that works, right? If this happens, if he gets a cut, 11 days to heal. If he gets this, and that was great. So we're constantly educating ourselves in the sport. Like there's so much stuff. I don't, I know this much compared to, a lot of the guys been around or even like Faber, right? I mean, I wish I could borrow some of his knowledge, but anyway, so to get back to your point, yeah, Pedro's good. I'm going to see how he boxes on I think Friday night, and then he's going to come in and see how he does against Chris.
It's going to be one hell of a fight, and I think that's another one that fans are already not circling on their cards. It's those are the first two fights to go ahead and kick off the main card over there. That's a hell of a way to go ahead and head into the UFC Fight Pass, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's a banging show. I mean, yeah, it's our last show of the year. Tons of UFC people are going to be there, and a lot of special guests, and I'm excited. We've worked really hard this year, and this is our final show of the year. And I think we can stand back and say, you know what, for our third year in business, we did a great job. Like we really did, like the whole team. So yeah.
I know that they're, like how you said, possibility of a couple of special guests. Anybody that you want to name off kind of right now for some of the A1 Combat fans to get excited about?
Any given show, Clay Guida's there, Josh Emmett's there, Andre Feely's there sometimes, Max is there, Fluffy's there. I mean, there's Aspen's there. I mean, there's just all, tons of people always, and we never advertise it, right? Which I probably should. But I haven't in the past. I mean, they're just there, they just coming up with a lot of them bring their kids and stuff, and they're just there to watch the fights, man. So, and they interact with the fans and take photos and stuff. So that's their own gig. But I'm glad to have them there. It's cool. It's really cool.
I feel like they appreciate that as well, is that you don't use it as a marketing tactic. You're not like, hey, I'm bringing in this guy's coming into the show and he's going to bring, his family, because like how you said, oftentimes a lot of the times, I mean, even last time Max Griffin, when we got to commentate on that card together, he was just kicking it with his son, and so I told him, I'm like, hey man, I appreciate you taking the time away and going and hopping on the desk with me, but still, like, it's a very much of a kind of different environment that I feel A1 Combat brings in terms of just the family oriented. I know MMA is going on in the cage, but you have a lot of families, a lot of people that bring out their kids to those events. What does that kind of mean to you as a promoter, that not only the the crowd wants to watch it, but parents are bringing their kids in. You know, people are bringing their young adults in to go ahead and watch the sport and get to experience it at the Hard Rock Live.
Yeah, it's a good feeling, man. It's a safe space. I've had a lot of people comment that, man, you know, they've been to MMA shows and they didn't really feel safe because they're like little factions of people, and it seemed really like kind of like you know, something could pop off at any second, and we don't have that. I've had 2 fights, 30 shows we put on, including the Muay Thai shows and the amateur shows and all the firepower shows and everything else. 30 shows, 2 fights in the crowd, and they were both girls.
And that's mind you that you've had, I mean, some of 209's finest come in. You've had Nate Diaz, you've had Gilbert
Yeah,
Melendez, you've had all kinds of personalities kind of just go and enter this bubble together. And I like how you said, no kind of conflicts have arisen in that sense.
yeah, we've hosted over 40,000 fans, like according to our numbers on Eventbrite. Yeah, no problems. Everybody's cool, man. I think it's just a cool vibe at our shows. It's safe. I mean, the Hard Rock's a $58 million venue, so it's nice. Everything's new. It's well thought out. The security guards are nice. The ushers are nice. The bartenders are nice. Our crew's nice. You know, you got Faber running around, you know, taking pictures with everybody, and just kind of, it's just like a cool vibe, you know, and great fights. And I like the fact that the amateurs get to fight in that environment too, you know, like they get to walk out in the big stage in front of 2,000 people, and Herb Dean or Mike Beltran, or, you know, they have the famous refs and, you know, the video production, and there's 18 guys on the video crew, and they're getting everything filmed. And, you know, I think it's cool for them to, you know, and if maybe that helps motivate them in some manner to continue to fight, or, you know, I think that's good. I'm happy. I'm happy that I can, you know, like be the ringleader, you know, or whatever you want to call me, to present the sport in that fashion. You know, it's very professional. We keep the back room extremely professional, you know, and safe for the fighters. And that's a big deal to me. You know, I want people to come and have a good time. I don't want to have to worry. You know, I don't want them coming to our shows thinking, oh gosh, I hope I don't get in a fight here in the crowd. You know.
No, that's never a good. It's never a good time,
Yeah.
especially when you're
How am
trying
I
to
gonna
watch
make
them going down.
how am I gonna make money off unsanctioned fights, bro?
Yeah, no, you got to get them taped up or something, man. I mean,
Yeah.
if they're gonna be happy in the crowd, might as well make some money, right? But
Yeah.
just to continue on with our conversation a little bit, moving forward into this 2025 year, I know you said you have some big plans going into this upcoming new year. What are some things that you maybe possibly want to reel in some fans in? Maybe get the fans a little bit hyped in going into 2025. I know you said it's the last show of the year, so they're gonna have a little bit of time to kind of get to sit on this and really get hyped up for that January show once the time does come.
Yeah, I think our first show is gonna land probably third week of February, somewhere in there. Um, we're working around a lot of holds at the venues right now. It's, yeah, I mean, kind of the end of the year is a reset, and we're going into the second year of this current contract with UFC Fight Pass. That's exciting. We're looking at the fighters, like, you know, possible people to get on Contenders in 2025. And so those are the guys that you want to get fights, right? I mean, that's our deal with Fight Pass is, you guys find the talent, you guys develop the talent, and we'll take them. And we'll pay you to broadcast your show, right? That's fair. And that's what we do. So we're always looking for who's going to be on the lineup. You know, the first year we had Peyton, and this year we had 3 guys on Contenders, and then of course Ryan Loder on Ultimate Fighter. Um, and so we're just continuing down that path. That's my job, is to develop talent. That's it.
Are you going to be watching that LFA 198 card over there in Los Angeles, possibly over there for your champion Christian Avalos? I know he's claimed that he wanted to take on that guy over there at LFA. Lightweight championship is coming into your district. Richie Lewis and Richie Miranda going at it for that 155 belt. Is there a possibility we ever see those kind of two champions collide? I know that you expressed interest in kind of testing the waters before with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the different organizations in on Fight Pass have their own, you know, they have their own opinions about doing that. about bringing my champion versus your champion. I've been talking with Anthony Pettis about that. It's like, hey, let's do a show in Vegas. You bring your five or six best guys. I'll bring my 5 or 6 best guys, and let's do it. And that's been kind of an ongoing conversation that we've had, and it still may happen. But I haven't had any offers directly to have my champions fight, on another show like that. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean Christian Avila is kind of one of those guys that you mentioned may possibly be on that like short list for the Contender Series in this next possible year. And if Kevin Felipe or Nick Maximov is able to get a victory come November 15th, possibly we could be seeing Nick punching his ticket back into the UFC now with a couple of victories on the regional scene, and then Kevin Felipe has just been on a different type of tear as of late in terms of knocking people out. Man, that guy's on a different one as of late.
Yeah, I think definitely Christian for sure, 100%. Goes to Contenders. He's another guy. He's not afraid to fight anybody. Terrence Saturn, absolutely. He's 7-1 now. Definitely be on Contenders, in my opinion. I mean,
it's a shocker he hasn't got signed yet, in my opinion. I was surprised that we haven't seen his name kind of in circulation just in general, like late notice kind of registration for a fight, because he's been someone that on 125 in terms of regional scene, been tearing it up. Sometimes it's like hard to think that he's almost not there yet.
Yeah, no, yeah, you watched the last fight. I think he could have beat anybody.
Nope. You still there, Tom? Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
Terrence. Yeah, sorry. This phone's it's connected to my laptop. Anyways.
No worries.
Yeah, he could have beat anybody that night, in my opinion. He looked so good, man. Everything, kicks, strikes, everything. He was like, "I'm not leaving here without the belt, dude." So, so get ready.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. I think he, as you stated, looked just as good, if not better, than a lot of the guys that are possibly getting that call up now. And just like how you stated, I think he's definitely going to be one of those names, especially alongside Christian Avalos. And then, you have so many guys over there that are possibly on that list for Contender Series. And then also, you got Billy Brand and Pedro Juarez also possibly maybe looking for a fight in the coming months to try and make their ticket back into the UFC, especially after their performances on Contender Series against some pretty top-notch prospects.
Yeah, I think our bantamweight division is gonna explode again this year. It did the first year, and then it kind of we lost some fighters. But yeah, I think the bantamweights will be on fire again this year. Definitely the 170s will be on fire this year. The featherweights we always have a lot of good featherweights around. So yeah, I'm just trying to, like, my job too is I have X amount of resources. I have X amount of bouts right. I'm going to do, like, say 6 shows. Let's say there's 7 bouts, right? So you start breaking it down. Like, I have so many slots. I have so much money, and where am I going to focus my resources, right? So you can't, there's some fights. I'm going to do this bout just because I want to see what happens. But day-to-day business, it's like, okay, well, keep putting resources into your featherweight division. Keep developing, because you got 3 or 4 guys that could end up on Contenders. So let's get all the featherweights fighting. Get your hands on good opponents and put some great featherweight fights. You know what I mean? So I've learned that in the last 3 years. It's like you really gotta start narrowing down and be strategic with how. And I've got some good advice too for some people who've been in the business a long time. They told me that. They're like, you really need to focus on what you're doing, because your job is to produce champions that will go up the, and let's say I'm on UFC Fight Pass, I don't send anybody Contenders. We're not going to be sticking around very long. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to be like, hey, you're not doing your job, buddy. So that's where it's at, And I think just sharing this information on your show is good, just to get it to the fighters and the managers and the coaches, because some of them understand, but some of them don't. You
No,
know.
and I think it's something that, like how you stated, a lot of people may have knowledge about it, and some may don't. But it's almost like that WEC mindset in terms of the UFC. The UFC, when they purchased the WEC, WEC was only putting on fights with, I believe they had like the whole entire, they had light heavyweights, so on and so forth. UFC told them, hey, just go ahead and give us the lighter weight classes, give us 155s and downs, and that obviously helped with the rise of stars like Gilbert Melendez, and then you've seen guys like Uriah Faber, you've seen the young births of stars like Dustin Poirier start from the WEC, and then now we've seen a blossoming in terms of regional promotions, and now A1 Combat being alongside that. But it's kind of interesting, like how you said, it's like focusing on key areas, because that some guys are going to have a better heavyweight division, that some guys may have a better light heavyweight division, or so on and so forth. But that, hey, we got a lot of guys at 145, we got a lot of guys at 135. We got to make it work.
Yeah, exactly. And I've sent great fighters over to other promotions and say, you know what? I don't have a lot of 205s, dude. I just don't. I will be struggling to find you fights, but this other guy who's also on Fight Pass, he's got a huge 205 division. You should honestly go over there. I just want to see these guys make it, man. I just want to, help where I can and guide people where I can. I mean, I think another good piece of advice I can share is fighting out of your division. Like you should probably think about staying in whatever division you're going to fight in, and not going up, like say you're featherweight, not going up to 155 just because you want to fight, because matchmakers look at that. They say, well, why did he fight at this weight? Did he not make weight? What happened?
And it's just a short glance. It's not like you guys are able to always do the in-depth.
They're not going to look at it and say, oh, that's good, he fought out of his division. That's not a good thing, generally speaking. I mean, yeah, and guys are like, man, I didn't want to wait for a fight anymore. They offered me this, so I took it.
Is there any kind of closing comments that you wanted to end off the call with today in terms of A1 Combat 25 going down over there November 15th? I mean, A1 Combat just in general. Anything that you kind of wanted to end off the call with here today, Tom? It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, man.
Man, it's always nice to talk to you. I appreciate what you're doing, and it's great. And you do a great job at it. No, I come to the show. If you haven't been to one of our shows, come and check it out. Say hi. They're great fights. A lot of really cool people, a lot of fun-loving people. People are there to have a good time, and we do a great job putting on a great show, with a lot of respect to everybody, the fans, the fighters, the coaches, the sponsors. Everybody is treated very well, and it's cool, man. If you're not coming, you're missing out. If you're an MMA fan, for sure, you need to come to our shows and check it out.
If you're in the 916-209, I mean, even if you're in the 559, you're willing to go ahead,
have a little
bit of fun.
All over California to go to shows. It's fun, man. Take a road trip.
Hell yeah, it's always a great time, especially when you're getting to watch some great fights over there going down at A1 Combat. Thank you so much for your time today on the program, Tom, and it was just an absolute pleasure to get to have you, my man. Thank you. You're always welcome whenever you want to go ahead and break some news over here, man.
All right, thanks.
Alrighty, brother. Thank you. California, always a great time getting to speak to my guy, Tom Anderson, over there. I mean, he's probably one of the most, like, if I'm telling you guys, he really does care for the fighters. Like, if I could say what he does for, like, all the guys in terms of A1 Combat, in terms of the referees, in terms of making everybody all cleared, everything, making sure the show is going smoothly. Tom Anderson is the man over there in the 916. So always grateful to have him on the program. Always going to be grateful to give him a platform to speak about that upcoming show. And if you guys are not going to be over there, make sure that you're going to be following me, MLH Media, MLHmedia.MMA on Instagram. I'm going to be posting those post-fight interviews as they come along on October 25th. It's going to be a great time over there. On November 15th, going to be a great time over there. October 25th is what I was going to be referencing next in terms of 559 Fights 109. Going to be commentating that show. Can't wait for that to be going all down over there.